Hey guys, Jojo here. So it's almost been a full week since Avengers Endgame was released, and I decided to hold off on giving you all my thoughts on it until more people watched it. And I figure a week is pretty good. So as you know, I do spoilers. So if you guys haven't watched it, right now would be a really good time to tune out. But thank you for the view. I still appreciate it greatly. And I'll see you guys later. But for those of you who have watched it and would like to discuss, well, we're gonna get into it right now. Alright guys, so last Thursday was my first viewing of the movie, and I tried really hard to go into it with a clean slate, and that required me going off social media for a little bit. I didn't want any kind of spoiler. I didn't watch any non-spoiler reviews even. I just wanted to formulate my own opinions and kind of go in without any preconceived notions of any kind. So that worked out really well because I could not believe what they did with this film. Like, from beginning to end, it was pretty satisfying. I'm not going to go out on a limb and say that it was the best Marvel movie, because I don't think it was, but what it did do was really tie everything together really well. Like, they put a nice little bow tie on it, and it sent these characters that we know and love off in a way that was very respectful and just fun to watch overall. Like, I was thoroughly entertained throughout the movie. I did think that there were some slower parts in it, maybe more specifically some of Act 1 and most of Act 2 were a little slow for me. There were some scenes when they go back in time that I didn't really care for too much. A lot of it was fan service, which is fine. But the scenes I'm talking about where they go to their past and they kind of revisit certain scenes that we've actually seen in previous movies. It's cute and it's fun, but I could have done without it. I really just wanted to get to the conclusion and how they were going to gather all these Infinity Stones and finally defeat Thanos. So what was really interesting about my first viewing was, like, I got emotional in certain parts. One being the cold open. Holy smokes, that was intense with Hawkeye and his family. When you realize what's happening and all of a sudden they're just gone, it's like, oh, my heart sank. Like, poor guy. So yeah, that was an incredible way to start the film. Very shocking, but really gives you the gravity of the situation, and the stakes are high from the get. So I really enjoyed that cold open. I also really enjoyed how they killed Thanos right off the bat, like chopped his head off. Go Thor, finally. Well, he finally accomplished what he wanted to do in in Infinity War. A little too late, but you definitely see Thor struggle with those feelings of guilt, and it's interesting to see him as a Big Lebowski. That was pretty hilarious. I did think that they were gonna clean him up a bit at some point of the movie, but they never did. So yeah, we pretty much get a Big Lebowski Thor for the entirety of the movie, which, I mean, I don't hate it, I don't love it either. I would have liked to have seen a chiseled, clean-cut Thor by the end of the movie, but it's all good. We could always go watch the older Thor movies for that. But yeah, that was pretty funny. Another scene that really caught me off guard, I didn't think I would get so emotional, was when Black Widow died. Holy crap. I mean, we as the audience already knew that one of them were going to have to sacrifice themselves if they wanted to get the stone, but they didn't know. So it was pretty tragic seeing them figure it out, and the fact that they're willing to fight each other to save the other person and humanity really is really endearing. And oh man, just the way that they just plunge to their inevitable demise is like really sad and intense. You really feel it, and at least I did, because you know, I have talked to some people that they didn't feel anything when she passed, and I was like, wow, really? Because I definitely did. And I think it really stems from Winter Soldier, because I really liked her character and the dynamic that she had with Captain America in that movie. So that, for me, that carried on to other movies, and I grew attached to her more. And so also with this movie, they do establish the fact that she really considered the team as family, you know, and so she would do anything to save them, and not just them, but you know, everybody who lost their family or people that were close to them. And yeah, I'm getting a little choked up just talking about it. It was really sad, and I really enjoyed the way that whole scene played out, and just love to see how much they cared for each other at that moment. And yeah, that was definitely one of my favorite scenes. Definitely cried. And what else made me cry? Later on, you know, I got really excited once they got to that last battle. Holy smokes, so much was going on. It was like sensory overload. Like, I was just taken aback, kind of taking everything in, and it was overwhelming, but it was beautiful. And every beat of that entire last act was meaningful. It was powerful. Like when Captain America catches the hammer, what's it called again? Thor's hammer? Mjolnir? I can never pronounce it, but you guys know what I'm talking about. He catches that thing and goes, he just like has it with him. Oh my god, nerd chills like crazy. Gosh, that was one of the best moments in the movie, if not the best moment, because you weren't expecting it. And the fact that he's worthy at that moment in time, oh, there's nothing like it. Like, to see that play out is just awesome. And Thor's like, I knew it. Another really cool scene from that last battle was when all the girls come together. Boy, was that awesome. Like, it gave me chills as well. But I do think it's kind of funny that they decided to go with that, only because, you know, they've been getting so much crap for like not having female superheroes be at the forefront. So it's kind of funny that they were like, well, here are all our girls. There you go. There's a nice scene for all of you haters. But I thought it was great, regardless of why they did it. Like, it was awesome. It was an awesome moment to see them all together. I really didn't think Captain Marvel needed to be in the movie, honestly. They could have easily just not had her be there. She was in and out the whole time too, and I really didn't like her excuse of like, oh, well, there's so many planets in this universe, you know, and that was her reasoning, that she had to kind of protect the other planets because the Avengers were kind of preoccupied with Earth. So I just felt kind of like it was a cop-out. Kind of seems like they just didn't get Brie Larson for the amount of days they would have liked. But I don't know, that seemed kind of like a really cheap explanation for why she wasn't there most of the time. So whatever. Small nitpick. And of course I got emotional when Iron Man passed, but I kind of expected it. He was my best bet. If you had asked me, which I had discussions with several people, you know, just theorizing and trying to guess who was going to die and everything. And that was always my guess, was Iron Man, and that Captain America would live and stay with Peggy somehow. And that did end up happening, which I was really happy about. But yeah, when Iron Man died, that was definitely a sad moment. But like I said, I was kind of mentally prepared for it, so it didn't hit me as hard the first go around. And then, but when Peter Parker says his goodbye to Iron Man, it was like, that's when it kind of hit me. And then I got a little bit emotional there too. But yeah, I really liked what they did with Captain America, staying with Peggy back in time. That was so touching, and it felt so good, like, to see him finally be happy, because throughout all these movies, he's always kind of at a place and kind of depressed, and, you know, always longing for the time that he missed with Peggy. And it was really nice getting to see him get back to her, and he marries her, and like, it's just amazing. It was really heartwarming to see that. And it's interesting that he chose Falcon to be Captain America. Good choice. I wasn't even thinking that they were going to pass the torch in this movie, so that was kind of unexpected for me. But yeah, I wonder what made him choose Falcon over Bucky, because Bucky was like his best friend growing up. So yeah, it's interesting. I would like to know the reasoning behind that. So everything I just talked about right now, that was basically my initial reaction after my first viewing. What was interesting was that when I saw it a second time on Sunday, I went with my family, and I got emotional during different parts of it. And I was like, why is this? That is so interesting. My guess is that the first go around, you kind of are just trying to process everything that they're throwing at you, and, you know, making sure everything makes sense in your head, and, you know, trying to keep up with it all, and, you know, all these special effects. There's so much that's happening, and you don't want to miss a beat. The second time around, though, I already knew what was going to happen, and I was able to appreciate the story much more, and even some of the subtleties, like certain music cues, I was really dialed into the point where I felt it all. You know, I felt those music cues, I felt these certain climactic moments, especially in the battle scene. I was a sloppy mess during the battle scene the second time. The first time I was just like, yeah, this is awesome, you know, seeing it. The second time I was just like, when everyone shows up, I was like, oh my god, this is beautiful. You know, it was just some kind of geekgasm. It was crazy, but I enjoyed every second of it. In terms of Smart Hulk or Professor Hulk or whatever you want to call him, I was a little annoyed at first with how comical they made him. It just didn't seem in his character to be like cracking jokes all the time. But I was thinking about it later, and I'm like, you know, maybe it's just the fact that he's a more confident version of both Banner and Hulk. So he's finally like comfortable in his own skin. So in that case, you know, he's cracking jokes. He has charisma. You know, he's kind of suave, and yeah, it kind of makes sense. So I started to understand it a little more. And in terms of Ant-Man and Wasp, I really love Ant-Man. He's definitely probably my favorite in the MCU. Ooh, that's a tough call, but he's up there. Like, the Ant-Man movie is probably my second favorite movie in the MCU, so I really have a soft spot for Ant-Man. And he just always kills it. Like, Paul Rudd being funny, now that's like always gonna be fun and cool. And you know, the first Ant-Man movie was supposed to be that like comical, fun, like action-packed movie. So it makes sense for him to be funny. It's when they just start making all the characters funny that it kind of irks me. Like sometimes when Doctor Strange cracks jokes, I mean, Thor, you got all the Guardians that are funny too. So it's like, it gets a little tired after a while. Well, I get a little tired of it. But with Ant-Man being comic relief, I think that's a little more fitting for his character. So it makes sense to me. But yeah, I always like him. I love the taco scene. That's hilarious. And yeah, I was glad to see him back with Wasp and his daughter. It was so nice to see them three towards the end. Guys, honestly, this is a great movie. Was it perfect? No. There's definitely some areas I feel they could have tightened up a bit, especially when they went back in time. But I understand that a lot of it was fan service. I mean, they definitely wanted to reward those people that have been following since Iron Man 1. And, you know, what better way to do that than to basically dedicate an entire act of the movie to those people. So even though it wasn't necessary to have those scenes play out as long as they did, it didn't take away from the movie. It was still fun to watch, and even though it was longer, could have been cut down, like I said, it didn't take away from it either. So I think it's still a great movie, even with the longer scenes. So yeah, I don't have much to say about it besides that. Like, it's a great feat that the Russo brothers have managed to do somehow. Like, God, just thinking back at like when Iron Man 1 was released, that was so long ago. Like, I was second year in college, I think, and here we are. So I believe there's only one. Well, there's the Spider-Man movie still going to be released, and then we got what's the next one? Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is coming out, and then Black Widow's getting a prequel. So it should be interesting to see. It's not quite the end, but it's the beginning of the end, I guess, because we still got a couple more movies to go. But anyways, guys, that's about it for this video. If you liked it, give me a like or subscribe, or both. I don't hate it. And you can catch me on Twitter and on Instagram at PopDotComix, and I guess I'll catch you over there. Later.